The first season of Fear the Walking Dead has just wrapped up, and C-Dub and J.C. from Chronochord Media are here to bring you their reaction and review for the 6th episode titled The Good Man. C-Dub, let's get an instant reaction to that episode. What'd you think?
Oh wow, JC, I gotta say, after all this slow build we've had for all of season 1 and the lack of a true threat right in front of us, episode 6 here, The Good Man, wow, really started to ramp up the fear factor and the intensity. We've got a ton to get into, a lot of developments here. Now we're starting to see some progression. Man, what an episode.
Yeah, C-Dub, that was a very tense episode. The music did such a great job of setting the scene. So let's dive right into our recap of what we saw on the season finale of Fear the Walking Dead. We see that overhead shot of downtown Los Angeles. Fires are abound everywhere, and the city is in obvious ruin. Meanwhile, Madison and Travis are getting ready to head out of the house, saying they want to drive east like their original plan. Meanwhile, in the basement where Adams was being tortured, Salazar thinks it's time to put Adams out of his misery, C-Dub. I thought he was going to go ahead and go through with it. Madison and Travis stopped him. This could have been something that he regretted later. We will find that out. And he comes to Ophelia and admits he was lying to her about his involvement as an interrogator. We see Dr. Exner calling in evac to the hospital, and Liza arranges for the limited seating of Travis and Chris aboard the evac helicopter if she can find them. Adams is pleading with Travis to be released. He knows Salazar will end up killing him, and I had a feeling in my gut that Travis would do that. What about you, C-Dub?
Wow, this was really one of those landmark moments here early on where you have to make those decisions about self-preservation, wondering if somebody is trustworthy to be able to survive, as these characters will learn going forward that sometimes the biggest threat, as we saw in The Walking Dead, is not the walkers, the zombies, it's actually the other people. And I'm not so sure that I would be comfortable trusting a person after they had just had their arm completely mutilated by my friend and fellow survivor. Nevertheless, I think it was the right call morally, but I think here pretty soon morals are just going to go out the window. Man, Salazar hopefully won't be torturing any of the other survivors anytime soon.
When they were leaving the neighborhood in the caravan of cars, they saw that family in the window. It's kind of like, why didn't you stop for 30 seconds and go over to them and warn them, tell them to get out of there, kind of a courtesy notice. But at the same time, if those people are so unaware of what's going on, maybe they aren't meant to survive in the first place, man.
Yeah, I really feel like that was kind of what the writers were trying to accomplish with that scene. And kind of just show how many people in an actual scenario like this would be completely clueless and aloof and would be those people who end up not surviving. Nevertheless, we see our caravan preparing, as you said, to leave the premises and leave the safe zone. And of course, the soldier, Adams, his life and his survival is still in question.
This is probably meaningless, but they leave the gate wide open. Maybe that's so that they can come back later if they need to. I doubt that will happen. But at the same time, they're risking the safety of all the other people that were left behind. Might be meaningless, might not be, we'll see. Sneaky old Danny Salazar comes up to the gate at the military compound, and lo and behold, behind him are all the zombies from the arena. He released them and led them straight there so that they would overwhelm the army. Even though he's trying to rescue his wife, I think that's definitely a self-defeating maneuver, bringing all those dangerous zombies into that vicinity of the complex. There's only so much these army guys can do, as we see when they get overran.
Yeah, maybe not a very good idea considering that it's kind of sabotaging yourself. But it seems that Salazar only makes these calculated decisions. He's no dummy. And of course, as we saw, the zombies coming upon the compound, almost like Salazar was the Pied Piper, leading them right to it, provided the amount of time and the diversion for Salazar and the rest of them to make an entrance, to make the rescue.
So the group arrives in the parking garage, and they realize that Travis did in fact let Adams go. The evac copters are hovering over, taking people away, but as soon as that zombie horde shows up, the helicopter I think wisely stops their evac mission and they turn around. Dr. Exner realizes there is no hope at that point.
Yes, despite the radio communications and pleas of Dr. Exner with her military cohorts up in the evac helicopter, those guys in that helicopter have it pretty good. And as they reply that they are assessing the situation, before not much longer, we see the helicopter going away into the distance. And of course, Dr. Exner at this point, as you said, realizing all hope is lost, tells Liza, run.
Zombies approach the building and things are really getting out of control. Strand and Nick, they get out of the cage finally, and Strand refuses to let anyone out of their fenced-in area. I thought that was kind of cutthroat on his part.
Strand has ice water pulsing through his veins, JC. If I had to hedge my bets on anybody who is most well equipped for survival, both psychologically and based upon experience, it's gotta be Strand, Danny Salazar, and Nick.
Alicia and Chris are hanging out in the parking garage waiting for them to come back. They hear some people approaching. They're not sure if they're zombies or whom they might be. They end up being army people, and they confront Chris and Alicia. They just want the car, but things get a little out of hand, you could say. So we're not sure what happens to them for a little while there. And we see the army officially overwhelmed at the gate. The fence rips open, and the flood of zombies cannot be stopped. Liza sees this as she's going to board an evac truck. And then she doesn't. She sees an army guy get bit and he's running. He runs directly into the blades of the helicopter. That was really, really nasty, dude.
Yeah, that was one of the most memorable scenes thus far of the series, and fantastic work by the special effects team on Fear the Walking Dead. I know Greg Nicotero has a fantastic crew of special effects gurus that shot was, wow, pretty shocking there. And I think it would have made me do the same thing that Liza did and realize maybe it's best that I don't run.
Strand and Nick continue their escape. They run into the guard who was being bribed by Strand, and the guy has no chance. He's a goner, and Strand reclaims his cufflinks. He leaves the watch. All the while, that zombie's just going to town on his leg. It was really funny, actually. So now Danny, Travis, Madison, and Ophelia, they run into the fenced-in holding area, and they start releasing people, something Strand would not do. And everyone starts running frantically, of course. Liza is hot on their tail right behind them, and we see Nick and Strand get locked into a wing of the hospital. A giant group of zombies is coming right their way. Really cool strobe shots with the lights cutting in and out there, C-Dub. And Liza, in the nick of time, comes with her key card and opens the door. I mean, literally, there was milliseconds until they were going to get bit. That was a very close call.
That was an extremely intense scene, man. Wow. Between the strobe effects, like you said, with the zombies coming down the hallway, and Strand trying to defend himself and Nick from the zombies, man, knowing that those electronic doors, those magnetized locks don't open, there's literally no way to get out. I mean, they couldn't even fit through the glass if they wanted to. Wow, that was enough to give me an anxiety attack just watching it. Thanks, Liza, for coming in at the last second possible and getting him out of there.
Here they are escaping through the kitchen, and some zombies kind of trap them in there. Both Madison and Liza are in some close calls with some biters. Luckily, they get out of there. And at this moment, Salazar finds out about his wife passing away, and Ophelia starts freaking out, wants to go back and find her and see her, but way too late for that, I believe. And they make their way into the hospital area where they were treating patients, and Exner has executed all the remaining patients, and Liza tries to get Exner to leave with her, but Exner mentally, I think, has checked out at that point. And the last scene we see of her is picking up that same piston air gun, and you can only imagine what comes next.
JC, I've been saying since the start with Exner that she is not an angel of mercy. She's an angel of death. At the very least, it's good that she told Liza when it was time to get the heck out of there. She was right. That was a good time to leave. But I think this is a fairly fitting end for the highly selfish Dr. Exner, as unfortunate as it is. Or has she met her end?
but she was kind enough to give the crew directions about how to make their way out of the building. While they are leaving, Madison is talking to Strand and pretty much explaining where they're planning on going. Strand mentions that they should head west to the coast where his house is, near the water. It's starting to sound like Strand had this plan to escape from early on.
Finally, we have our first Doomsday Prepper in the Walking Dead universe. Imagine that. Strand, the well-dressed guy who seems to be really, really charismatic to some degree and very well spoken. Who would have thought that a guy like him would be so smart to prepare for such a situation as this? Man, Strand is cool, calm, and collected no matter what the situation may be.
Another very memorable scene is also when they walk outside of the building at dawn and they see giant piles of human ash and remains. Finally, they're back at the parking garage, but the car is gone. They're worried about Chris and Alicia. Luckily, they're safe. They were just hiding out. But oh no, C-Dub. Travis's decision has come back to bite him in the keister. Adams is back and he wants revenge.
Yes, Adams comes out of nowhere, armed, pretty much has everybody in a compromising situation, as nobody is armed and prepared to take him down. The group begins to plead with him to not hurt anybody, but it seems that Adams, rightfully so, is on a mission to kill Daniel Salazar after being tortured. Ophelia begins to plead with him, and just as soon as you think he's going to shoot Daniel Salazar, he turns and fires on Ophelia. Ophelia has been shot, and at this point, JC, all hell breaks loose.
Travis takes charge and goes straight MMA all over Adams' face. Adams is unrecognizable, and I think it's safe to say he's probably left for dead at that point. The crew jumps in their vehicles and starts to make their way towards Strand's house on the coast. And a great idea by Strand, take the LA River. No one's going to be driving on that at this point, and it doesn't matter if you do. So once they arrive at Strand's house, they realize that this dude is super, super rich. A beautiful mansion right on the Pacific Ocean.
Now, JC, earlier in the episode, and also as on his cufflinks and jewelry, Strand mentions Abigail, who we don't really know if that's his wife or who that is. But as they make themselves comfortable at Strand's house, Strand brings Nick outside to take a look through a telescope that he has fixed on the coast. Beautiful view. And in the distance, Strand points out to him a large yacht, seems to be a couple of miles off the coast, and says, "There's Abigail." Now, my question going forward here, JC, as many people who have ever owned a boat know, traditionally you name it after a female if you are a male captain. I'm wondering, is Abigail a person, perhaps his wife or daughter, who is aboard this boat, or is his boat named Abigail?
Yeah, my first assumption was that the boat's name was Abigail. We will find that out in the next season. So Strand reveals that he plans on leaving the house, and he mentions that no one can stay there either. But C-Dub, let's get to the penultimate moment in the season finale of Fear the Walking Dead. We find out, sadly, that Liza got bit at some point during the escape.
Yeah, unfortunately, JC, Liza reveals to Madison that she has a wound on her side. And of course, that means that she is infected. And as you can remember from earlier in the season, whenever Madison is perhaps a little bit distraught after her neighbor attacking the group, she actually asked Liza if she ever turns or if she ever gets bit, you have to take me out. It'll kill Travis to do so. And despite Madison being reluctant to want to shoot Liza, she realizes that she can't ask Liza to do such a thing and then refuse to do so herself. So as Liza is sobbing and even makes a joke that, well, you didn't like me that much anyways, Madison realizes that perhaps in this case, this may be the right thing to do. And just before Madison can shoot Liza, hopefully preventing Travis and Chris from finding out Liza's true fate, that it was maybe just a suicide, Travis comes upon Liza and Madison and realizes what's going on. He gets informed of the situation and immediately collapses. Man, I feel really, really bad for Travis in this situation, and it's very noble, I must say, of Liza to spare her family the grief. She was sure to go to her son Chris and give him a big hug and tell him how much she loved him before she walked away from the home here and all this happened. But I gotta say, that's very selfless of her to do this. It could be that if she was to turn and attack people in the group, her son and her ex-husband, Travis, may not survive. So, JC, it's at that point as we see Chris and Alicia enjoying some frozen treats from Strand's fridge. They hear a gunshot ring out, and it echoes across the coast right off the cliff where they are. And it was certainly loud, immediately drawing everyone down there and leading Chris to understand his mother's fate. Wow. That was a huge moment here for the big climax of season 1. And this is really one of those first moments, as we saw in the main series, where people's psychology is tested, they lose their closest loved ones, and it truly sinks in that things are no longer the same and it's all about survival.
It's going to be a while, but we will certainly keep you guys up to date with any breaking news relating to Fear the Walking Dead and the new season. And also make sure to stay tuned for our coverage of The Walking Dead, which premieres on October 11th. We'll be bringing you the same recap and review coverage that we have done for Fear the Walking Dead, and it's sure to be a very, very memorable season, C-Dub.
Really looking forward to The Walking Dead Season 6 as we put Season 1 of Fear the Walking Dead to rest. We have a lot of questions still left unanswered. Where is the group going to go? What are they going to do? How will the deaths of Griselda and Liza affect the psychology of the group? Will they be able to survive? Man, a lot of questions left. I can't wait to marinate on this a while and come back for Season 2 of Fear the Walking Dead. This has been a masterfully crafted psychological build-up to the finale. It's been very, very good. Great job by all of the cast and crew, the writers. You guys have us hooked. The Walking Dead is cool. Gotta say, I like Fear the Walking Dead just as much.
Let us know here at Chronochord Media what you thought of the season finale of Fear the Walking Dead, how it went, what questions remain unanswered, and what you predict for Season 2. Make sure to subscribe to keep up with all of our Walking Dead related videos. Thanks so much for tuning in to all of our Walking Dead coverage so far. For C-Dub and J.C. here at Chronochord Media, we'll see you next time. Don't get bit.